Hello, hello. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Welcome to my first dollar. I am Taryn Arnold with Buy Me a Coffee, and I am so excited to have you here. Everyone, this is Shannon Morse, and I was trying to write her like little intro. It was going to be amazing and say all the things. And I literally was like, I don't even know where to go from here. She does it all. Um, where I can start is that you are definitely a content creator in tons of areas, and you are, to me, a tech queen. So
Well, thank
hello,
you.
welcome.
I don't have a crown, but hopefully I can make up for that.
There's got to be like some sort of robotic crown that someone can make for you
I could probably make one.
Of course you can. See,
Stick some LEDs on it and make it like do blinky blinkies. That would be
there
really
you go.
cute.
We love a blinky blinky. Do you have a drink that we can cheers with?
I do. I'm very basic, so I am drinking a pumpkin lager.
Oh my God, look at you go. I have, what is
Cheers.
this? I have, cheers. I have some bougie water that my friend bought me for my birthday because
Whoa.
I like water, and he sent me a bunch of water. It was very weird, but an incredible gift.
I once had bougie water at my husband and I went on our honeymoon to Bora Bora, and they were using bougie water to spritz people at the pool. They were like, "Would you like a spritz of Evian?" And I was like, "I don't know what you mean." Sure.
You're like,
what?
well, I have to say yes, don't I?
I have to. Okay. It was so awkward. I was like, I shop at Walmart. I don't know what's going on.
Did your life change after that? Are you different?
It was very strange. I feel like I was able to see how the privileged people get to live. But now I'm back to normal.
No, but look at you. You got a fancy little lager. That's fun news.
True. Yes, I bought it at my local liquor store.
Well, there you go, supporting local. So like I said, I was trying to study you and trying to figure out how to introduce you. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to let her do it. So if you were introducing yourself and saying what you did, what would you say?
I do shows on YouTube about security and privacy, and I've been doing it full time for about 10 years now.
Oh my gosh.
Almost a little more than that.
Is that crazy to say?
It is, yeah. Whenever my family, for example, tries to explain what I do, people are like, "Oh, you can make money off of doing YouTube shows?" And I'm like, "Yes, you certainly can. It is a lot of work, but it is entirely possible."
That's awesome. And have you been doing the same type of show on YouTube the entire time?
I have. I've kind of branched away from what I had started doing. I started with a channel called Hack5, and we were focusing on hacker content, hacking, making DIY, security, and online privacy. And I've continued that trend, but I've also started focusing on more consumer aspects of that world. So I'm trying to bring some of those concepts to a wider consumer base so that more people can feel comfortable watching my content without feeling like everything's going over their head.
Yeah. How did you get started? That seems like such a niche of a thing to get going into. So what kind of brought you down this path?
It really is. My friend and I were huge fans of this online video gaming show back in the day, and they recorded a live show up in Canada. So we drove up there from Missouri. It was like a 20-hour drive. We were insane for like one day so that we could go see them do this live show and meet these people that we knew from the internet in person, which was very strange for a couple of young ladies in college to do at the time. But because it was like 2006 or something.
And now it's become very, very normal. But back then that would have been very spooky.
I was able to meet these mutual friends who were also doing this hacker show. I thought it was so cool. We ended up making friends. I graduated college. I moved in with the hackers to a completely different state, which my mom thought was crazy. It probably was. But it worked out. I ended up on the show. They taught me most of which I learned on those early days. And then I kind of went from there. I found a passion and I developed a love for it, and I love the community. So I just kept on going.
That's amazing. What did you think you were going to do before you fell into this?
Well,
no.
I graduated in restaurant and hospitality administration. So I thought I was going to own a restaurant.
Okay.
Didn't work out.
Is that still in the cards? Like, do you have...
No.
It's gone. Okay. It's gone.
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
Given the work that you have to put in to own a restaurant, it's kind of like the work you have to do with YouTube.
Yeah.
Constant 60 plus hours per week. And I was just like, no. Like I like people, but not that much.
Yeah.
So I much prefer to talk to people on the internet.
Yeah, the barrier's nice, you know?
Yes, the barrier's nice.
So tell me about like getting your first followers. Like when did it start to take off for you where you were like, oh, this is kind of working?
I think it's when Hack 5 was published in the New York Times because they were doing a very, very early piece about podcasters that were able to make money. So they interviewed the owner of Hack 5, and I just so happened to be there. And when that happened, because I was one of the co-hosts of Hack 5, we got a huge bump, a huge increase in how many people were watching our stuff. We ended up getting onto the Discovery digital network, which is owned by Discovery TV. Yeah, wow. It was crazy. And it kind of just went from there. We moved to San Francisco, me and my co-host and our camera guy, and we kind of just gambled and hoped for the best. And luckily we got sponsors for years and it went really well. Once I was able to kind of grow that base of an audience, I started really branching out, and I wanted to start doing my own thing and become really independent with doing YouTube. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to constantly have a co-host, much of which was because a lot of people see a male co-host and just automatically assume that they wrote all my content or that they did all the work. So I wanted to start branching out and doing my own thing. Oh, and cool. Luckily it's worked out really well. It's been very, very hard. It's been very grinding, but it's been fun. And luckily we have platforms that can help support that too.
What's it like being a woman in like the tech space? I'm sure it's not super easy, but how do you stay motivated? What do you do?
I think a lot of it comes down to having like a support system, because we do get a lot of unconscious bias just based on looks or based on what you sound like, or just the fact that a lot of people still believe to this day that women aren't necessarily interested in technology unless somebody told them to. And that's been a constant struggle throughout the years. It's been something that I've really noticed, but I've been really vocal about it. And I've been really supportive of other women who have gotten into the tech genre. And together we've kind of built this really nice base, really nice support group. And then I also have my friends and family who have been awesome support groups for me, because they know when I was like a 9-year-old kid, I was building computers. So having those kind of people around me who have been with me my entire life, even if somebody online doubts me, I'm just like, you don't really know.
You're like, you don't know a thing.
You don't know a thing, honey.
What got you into tech? Because it's not like you just said you've been doing techie things since you were a kid. Was there something that clicked for you, or something that made you super excited to hop in?
I still remember to this day, my dad, when I was like maybe 5 years old, my dad taking me into this huge computer store. It was like a Fry's Electronics almost, very similar to one of those, or a Micro Center, but it was like early 90s. We went into this store and I was just completely in awe of this entire wall of motherboards. And I remember it to this day. I thought it was so fascinating. And then a few years later, he took me back to that store and helped me pick out all the components. And then we ended up building a computer around that time when I was 9 years old or so.
Oh my gosh.
He constantly let me play video games on his computer. I remember like playing Myst back in the day when I was a little kid. So I got really, really into video games from a very young age. And he was watching Star Trek on TV whenever he would come home from work. Like that was our thing. We would watch like X-Files and Star Trek. So from a very early age, I was like completely inundated by technology. And a lot of that came from my dad and just his geeky personality. So
what a fun thing to be able to share with your dad. That's awesome.
It was really cool. I'm like so happy that he kind of influenced me in that way, because it really influenced what I do now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure. And one, I didn't even think I was going to ask this, but it just got me thinking. You probably spend so much time looking at screens, because not only is it your passion, but then it's your job also.
Yeah.
So what do you do to like, I don't know, what do you do throughout the day to keep yourself from going wild, just staring into a screen all day.
It is definitely really hard. I keep productivity notes and I keep task lists so that I can stay on target, because it's really easy for me to be like, oh man, I just want to spend 15 minutes in Discord and find out what the newest video games are. Or like, I should play some Borderlands. Like it's very easy for me to get sidetracked and want to do something fun on my computer, or like, I really want to open Photoshop and just edit some pictures.
Just play around, see what I can do.
I just want to play around and see what new things I can come up with, what cool concepts I can do with editing. Like there's all this fun stuff that I can do, but it's definitely hard to stay on target. So I've found that having a task list that kind of sends me notifications and reminders like, hey, you have to record Threatwire by 4 p.m. or else your editor is not going to have the video file in time for you to release it. Like that makes me stay on target because it's holding me accountable. Yeah. And also I've been using platforms where, people can support you. And if people are supporting me, contributing to my YouTube channels, that holds me accountable as well. Totally. So that definitely helps me stay on target to the point where I'm not constantly just like playing video games instead.
So you've been doing this for a long time, like you said, what would you give past you? What like piece of knowledge would you be like, sis, let's do this differently, or let's focus more here? Yes. Like what would you have said?
I would have told myself to not worry so much about my self-consciousness, like the self, oh gosh, what's it called? When you feel like you're not going to be as good as you actually are.
Just being overcritical or something of yourself?
Yes, being very overcritical. That really held me back for many, many years. And I think that I was depending on other people a little bit too much in the early days when it came to just technical aspects of being a creator, like figuring out how a camera works or lighting or eventually editing. Editing was my biggest hurdle that I had to cross. And if I wasn't so critical of myself, if I didn't feel like I had imposter syndrome, that's what I was trying to think of.
Oh, got it. Okay,
I felt like I had imposter syndrome. And if I came to it a lot sooner and was just like, no, you have the confidence, you can learn anything that you put your time to, just like, I don't know, sign up on lynda.com and learn editing real quick and you'll be good. Like you can start your YouTube channel right now. If I did that, I think I would have been a lot farther than what I have been at this point, because I've only been editing myself for maybe 5 of those 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I think something like that, like self-confidence is a hard thing to get to understand and to willingly like put yourself out there when you're first getting started as a creator.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a full-time creator at all. I do little things on the side, but it's such a weird career because it forces you into imposter syndrome, like no matter what. You're just like, what am I doing? There's some level of just not having any idea of how you got here and then just needing to figure it out.
It's pretty constant.
which is so wild. What's the dream for you creatively? Like, are you doing exactly what you want to be doing? Is this like you wake up and holy cow, this is the dream? Or is there something you're striving towards?
No, I'm not there yet. And I'm glad you asked that because it's definitely a continuum. Like there's always something that I want to be doing better. And I always feel like, even though I know how to edit now, I always feel like I can learn more. I can learn more about Photoshop or Adobe Premiere Pro. Right. So I'm constantly trying to find ways that I can further educate myself in the future. Like my real big goal, the big thing that I really want to feel accomplished with is you can't control subscribers. So I can't really say like, I want 1 million subscribers, which would be great, but I can't control that number because that really depends on YouTube's algorithm. What I can control is if I'm making more money, which definitely helps because I want to eventually build out a big studio where I can hire people, have a camera crew, and have like a producer, and then be able to actually put out content and just focus on the content. Totally. There's a lot of background stuff that you have to do as a business owner, and a lot of it is just like repetitive, like reporting finances and stuff like that. And like, I would prefer not to edit. So I would love to be able to get to the point where I have a nice big studio and I can hire people and I can give other people jobs. Like that is a big motivator for me too. Like I want to be able to give other people jobs. So eventually I'll get there. I'll have like a network of shows and I'll have people working with me. And I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, totally. So you brought up finances, which is perfect because that's where we're headed next. So you said you're doing this full time. Like this has been your full-time gig all along.
Yeah.
What is like the breakdown of your like revenue pie? Like what comes, no numbers, obviously, would never, but you know, are you getting like 50% from views or something like that? Kind of what's it look like for you?
Well, I'm pretty transparent about that information because I feel like with other creators, especially with other YouTube content creators, if somebody else that's around the same subscriber number as me is lowballing themselves to other potential sponsors, then those sponsors might come back to me in the future and lowball me if I'm still on the same kind of target market as another creator. So I'm always very transparent with other creators about like, you know, this is how much you should sell yourself for, and this is how much you should put your rate at for every recording you do and stuff like that. So I definitely share that information, like, you know, in private Discord channels and stuff like that with other creators. Awesome. But yeah, one thing that I highly recommend to all creators is diversifying. And I do have a pie. It's a very uneven pie. So I can't split it straight down the middle and say 50-50, but I would say like ad revenue probably takes up maybe 5-10% of my full revenue off of YouTube monetization. Sponsors are a really big portion of that because they usually bring in a quite a good margin, especially in like the last quarter of the year, because they're all trying to get the budget totally done so they can expense everything on taxes.
That makes sense.
Having sponsors is a major thing. I also use merchandise. I sell a little bit of merchandise, have a little bit of affiliate links. Those aren't very big ones for me. And then I use content creator contribution platforms like Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon as well.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. And so I was looking at your site and you have like, you've got them all. You got Buy Me a Coffee. Oops, I just You've got Buy Me a Coffee. You've got PayPal. You've got Patreon. You've got Ko-Fi Coffee. I actually don't even know how to say it. Do you?
Yeah, Ko-Fi.
Okay, Ko-Fi. Every time I read it, I'm like, I don't know. Why pick them all instead of just choosing one? Because I've seen creators do either or, and I'm always curious, like what makes you choose one or the other?
So I started on Patreon several years ago when their company just started rolling out, but several folks didn't want to sign up for reoccurring subscriptions, or they just did not really align with what Patreon stands for. Like they didn't like their political opinions or things like that. So I found that a lot of, especially my audience, given that they're hackers, they're the kind of people that are like underground and very guerrilla, and like they don't necessarily want to go with a societal norm. So there were a lot of times that they just disagreed with whatever platform was available. So I found it was a lot easier to just diversify when it came to those platforms. So I ended up signing up for several different ones, and I found other than Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee is my largest contribution source.
Awesome.
When it comes to people supporting me, especially because they have the choice of not just doing reoccurring payments now, which is awesome because people can be members and they can download my free photography from my travels or whatever I make as a perk. But they can also just donate on a one-time basis if they need to. That's been extremely helpful, especially like this year with the pandemic. A lot of people have had to cancel contributions because they've lost their jobs or whatever it might be, but they may want to come back at certain times, like after they've paid their bills for the month, and be like, I'm going to send you 3 coffees. So they send me 3 coffees. And that's been extremely, extremely helpful for like, especially not just this year, but like since I signed up with it. So it's nice to diversify. And I think that's highly recommended course of action for any creator.
Yeah. Why do you think people want to support you financially? Why do you think fans are supporting you?
I think it's because I'm really transparent and I'm really honest when it comes to the information that I provide. I never come to any platform and say, I'm an expert, because I don't believe that I am. I believe that everybody is constantly learning. And when it comes to something like cybersecurity, which is my main topic, like my main passion, there's a lot of people in that industry who consider themselves to be like rock stars. Like InfoSec rock stars is the terminology that a lot of people use. And I never want somebody to look at me and think like, oh, she's an InfoSec rock star, because I'm not. Like, I just happen to have a very public facing job. And that's how I've always looked at it. I've always looked at it as, this is my job. It just happens to be very public facing. If you want to support it, that's awesome. If you don't, just like subscribing and watching the channel is enough. Like that makes me know that I'm bringing something to you that's worthwhile. So I think it's really cool that people feel like they can trust me, because I am learning along with you. And I want to share the information that I'm learning as I'm going along with it. And I'm not scared to own up to my mistakes. There's been several times in the past where like I'll say something on my show that's not actually factual. And then I'll come back the next week and be like, oh, actually, I figured out why this thing didn't work right. And it turns out I was doing this wrong. So here's how you fix it. And then people are like, oh yeah, I figured that out too. That's so cool.
That's awesome.
So I think just sharing that vulnerability really, really helps.
Yeah. There's something about like connecting with a creator where you're like, I just want to say thanks. I want to, it's like, it's like you would buy them a coffee if you were around them.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's tons of creators that I want to buy coffees for in real life, and I can't right now because, we're all at home. So, so I can buy them a coffee on Buy Me a Coffee.
Yeah. Tell me, do you remember like what your first dollar was from being a creator? Like, do you remember that experience of first making money from this?
I do. I was still working a full-time job at a bank. I was a bank teller, which I don't know why they hired somebody who was into hacking at a bank, but they did.
So did you steal that first dollar? Is that what you're telling me?
No. Although the one time they did ask me to pick a lock because somebody lost their key, one of the bank tellers. Oh my gosh. They were like, can you pick this lock, but do it under the desk so that the cameras don't see you? And I was like, sure. I was on the clock and I was like, please don't fire me.
I've done one of those lock picking kits, and they're the most fun things ever. I feel like.
Oh yeah, they're so much fun.
They're so fun. Anyway, sorry. So you're at the bank.
Yeah. So I was at the bank and, I still had this job working 9 to 5, and it was so boring and I kind of hated it. But we were doing Hack 5 on our off hours, like in the evenings. It was exhausting, but it was so much fun and I was learning so much. And eventually we did get our first sponsor, which I believe might have been a beer sponsor.
Oh, cool.
Or a dating site or something. I don't know. It was weird.
That's awesome.
But they paid us. And when that happened, we all went out to dinner and we to Buffalo Wild Wings or something inexpensive like that. And it was so much fun because we were so proud of ourselves. We were like, here's our first check. Like, it's real and we can actually have this and use it for something that brings us happiness. And like, we can grow our business. We can buy a new camera. Like, it was just really cool because that kind of showed us that this is a future that we could possibly have. That's awesome. After that, once things started getting rolling, like when we were able to move to the Bay Area, that's when it really took off. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually a full-time job now. Like, this is crazy. Like when I quit the bank, I was like, yeah, so I'm going to do YouTube full-time. And they were just like, are you sure about that? Like, yes.
Yeah, I wonder why that's so many people's reaction. Like, at this point, this is just what it is. This is a thing that's going to get bigger and bigger. And it already is. Like, there are so many people, like my girlfriend is a YouTuber. Like, it's also normal now. It's awesome.
It's totally normalized. Like when I moved into the neighborhood that I live at now, which my husband and I bought a house, which is entirely possible as a content creator. We bought a house and we have a mortgage, and I'm very proud of that.
There you
Even
go.
though now we're super in debt, but hey, that's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It'll help me grow my business.
Yes.
When I was moving in, the people that we were buying from, they were like the realtors. They're like, "Oh, so what do you do for a living?" I said, "Oh, I do YouTube." And they said, "Oh, well, we have a beauty influencer that lives over here, and there's a Twitch gamer that lives over there." And like all these people have purchased houses. So like hearing that made me feel a little bit more comfortable with the idea like, oh, okay, so I'm not doing something crazy. This is actually a job now. Like people are doing this as a job. This is a career. Like it's a thing that hopefully I can put money into a retirement and eventually retire one day. So it's definitely a suitable career. And when you do start going to banks to get loans, or when you do start going like looking into getting a mortgage or something like that, you can start saying, "I'm a content creator online," and people say, "Oh, yeah, okay, yep, just show me an income report." And they take it seriously now.
Right.
Which 10 years ago, if you said, "I do YouTube," people would just be like, "No, but do you actually have a career? Because we can't give you a loan."
Yeah. Like you built YouTube, or what did you do?
Yeah, people used to think I worked for Google.
Oh my gosh, I love that for you. If a creator was at the point in their journey where they're thinking, okay, I kind of want to quit my job, I'm thinking maybe it's time that I can do this, like what advice would you give them to get started with actually taking this to a career level?
I think the biggest thing would be make sure like you're not in debt, and make sure that you're choosing a niche or choosing something that you're really truly passionate about, something that you actually want to do full time, and treat it as a job, not just something that you're doing as a hobby where like you can put it off for a few days and then come back to it, but actually treat it like a job. And if it is something that you're truly passionate about, if it's something that you want to keep doing every day, and you're excited when you wake up in the morning to turn on the camera and record a video or play a video game or draw comics or whatever it might be, then that's definitely something that you could turn into a job and enjoy doing for the rest of your life. And that's fully my intention when I thought about when I was truly considering quitting the bank and turning this into my full-time job was, is this something that I could see myself doing long-term? And it wasn't even a question. It was immediately like, yes, absolutely. I've always loved entertaining. I used to be in theater. I've always built computers since I was a kid. And the fact that now I can take computers, build them, or show people security and privacy, or review tech products on the internet, and I can take that, but I can also entertain people with my geeky self and kind of stick those together on YouTube. Like that's the perfect job for me. And
Totally.
if only it existed when I was younger. It didn't.
Yeah, but you're making it exist for people, and younger yous all around the world are like, oh, it can exist. That's a thing.
It can exist. Yeah,
can do. That's super cool. Okay, well, tell me, what are you working on right now? What's exciting for you, and then where can people find you on the internet?
Oh gosh. My main source where you can find me is Twitter, twitter.com/snubs, SNUBS with one B, and youtube.com/Shannon Morse, just like my name, is my main YouTube channel. The coolest, newest thing that I'm doing on that YouTube channel is probably reviewing this little device, which is the Galaxy Fold 2.
You have it?
Yes, it's so cool.
Is it amazing?
So cool. Yeah, it really is. It's amazing.
Can you feel like I would every time? Is it annoying the like middle crack?
No, surprisingly. Like you don't even notice it. Like I probably spent a couple of hours on here checking emails, and I was selling stuff on eBay and like checking Twitter and updating and, following along with an announcement that happened earlier today from Google with their new Pixels. And I was just sitting there going to town on it, and I didn't even notice the middle crease line. Like you can see it, but when you're actually doing stuff on the screen, it's very easy to stay productive and not notice it. But yes, you can see the full review on my YouTube channel.
There you go. What a fun job you have. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for chatting. I am so grateful, and I'm so excited that you're doing what you do, because it matters and it's cool, and it's cool that you get to have a fun job.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was so much fun to talk about this. And of course, I always welcome folks to come find me and contact me if they ever have any questions.
Awesome. Yeah, and I will plug that can people be like join your Discord? Is it Discord? Discourse? Which one?
Yeah. So I have two different Discord accounts for each of my YouTube channels, which
Cool.
are available for joining.
Awesome.
And then I also have, of course, you can always join my memberships over on Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I just think it's so cool what you touched on earlier about being transparent about earnings and what it's like and how, a rising tide can like lift all the ships,
Oh, so. and I do manage a private Discord for content creators, for tech YouTubers. So you can always just send me a message on Twitter and I can send people the invite link for that.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you. It's so good to chat.
Thanks for watching. See ya.